What's going on? Josh McCarty from Built in Buffalo, and we got some major Bills news on Tuesday morning as Leslie Frazier, now former Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator, has decided to step away for a year. And we're going to get into all of that, what that means for Frazier and what that means for the Bills going forward as they now have an opening at the defensive coordinator position. Frazier has held the title of defensive coordinator all 6 years Sean McDermott has been Buffalo Bills head coach. So there's no two ways about it. This is going to be a transition for the Buffalo Bills. Now, first of all, before I say anything about the timing or what's next, when somebody steps down for what we can assume can be personal reasons, we definitely want to wish him the best and hope that nothing's going on with Leslie Frazier that is certainly way more serious than football. With that said, the timing here could not be worse for the Bills when it relates to football. The game of musical chairs when it comes to defensive coordinators around the league has already taken place. Vic Fangio, Vance Joseph, Brian Flores, they've all found homes. And the Bills weren't even in on the game of musical chairs, and the music has already stopped. So, what does that mean going forward? Well, luckily for the Bills, there's some good things going for them. One, Sean McDermott is a defensive minded head coach. So, very similar to where Eric Bieniemy leaving the Chiefs is not as big of a blow as it would be for a team with a defensive minded head coach. I do think the Bills are able to withstand a shakeup like this late in February on the defensive side of the ball. The other good thing for the Bills, they do have some very solid in-house candidates. They have three coaches on their coaching staff that have been defensive coordinator before. One, you have Eric Washington, who's been the defensive line coach for the Bills since 2020, and he had a 2-year stint as Carolina Panthers defensive coordinator. They also have John Butler, their defensive backs coach and pass game coordinator. He's had multiple defensive coordinator stints in college. He has not done that job in the NFL, but he's done it in college. The third option, and what I think is the most likely option, is Al Holcomb. Al Holcomb is new to this staff. We got reports about a month ago that he was joining this staff as a senior defensive assistant. And it was noteworthy at the time that under Sean McDermott, they had only had one senior defensive assistant coach his entire tenure prior to Holcomb, and that was Eric Washington. That led me to believe that perhaps the lack of development out of guys like AJ Epinesa, Boogie Basham, Ed Oliver on Eric Washington's defensive line got him a little out of favor with this coaching staff, and bringing in Al Holcomb as a defensive mind, senior defensive assistant could have bumped him up the pecking order internally. Al Holcomb is a very good candidate for this job. Had Frazier stepped down or been fired or whatever had transpired in early February and the Bills been in that game of musical chairs, Al Holcomb would have been a name the Bills should have strongly considered. I think as far as the in-house candidates go, Al Holcomb is by far the most logical choice. But if the Bills want to look externally, there are some names still out there. Jim Leonard was rumored to be going to the Philadelphia Eagles last week. He had previously been with the Wisconsin Badgers. Older Buffalo Bills fans probably remember him as being a former player on the Buffalo Bills defense. Josh Boyer, the former defensive coordinator from Miami that got fired last year, he's out there. I don't know how excited anybody would be statistically on the surface of hiring somebody like Josh Boyer, who did have a really bad defense. But otherwise, there's just not a whole lot of names out there that are really going to move the needle. And I know there's probably somebody in the back of the room with their hand up, and we don't judge on this show, saying, hey, what about Rex Ryan? I saw his name was being thrown in with the Broncos. Look, we have a philosophy on this show. There are no bad questions. We appreciate that. But I can tell all of you, Rex Ryan is not coming back to the Buffalo Bills. I don't think Sean McDermott would want that. I can tell you very, very confidently Terry Pagula would not want that. So I don't think you have to waste much of your time wondering about Rex Ryan coming back to the Buffalo Bills. Personality-wise, schematically, the way it ended when he was head coach, there is just no shot. So going forward, the Bills are in a little bit of a spot here. Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott did address the media at the Combine on Tuesday. Brandon Beane, interestingly enough, did not rule out the fact that Sean McDermott could be calling plays on defense, and that could be a good thing. Sean McDermott, for as good as he's been as a head coach, was thought of as one of the better defensive play callers in the sport prior to becoming head coach. So I think the Bills are in good position to withstand this late breaking news here we are on the doorstep of free agency, and now the Bills don't know who their defensive coordinator is. If I were a betting man, I would predict that they eventually elevate Al Holcomb to that spot. But for now, on February 28th, the Bills find themselves without a defensive coordinator, and they're at the NFL Combine looking at prospects without knowing who the head guy is going to be in their defensive room. We will see what happens with the Buffalo Bills as it relates to defensive coordinator. Keep it locked into Built in Buffalo on YouTube, and we will keep you up to date as all Buffalo Bills news breaks this offseason. And I will see you next time on Built in Buffalo Quick Hits.